So I want to talk about this game and like I just want to say that rank in this game in League of Legends is irrelevant, right? Because when you think about it, right, this guy is a master tier player. Aurelia is one of his kind of go-to champions, so he has experience playing the champion, right? And you have to factor in that this guy is like master, so he probably spams a lot of games, right? So how many games did he play last season? Right, so there's like 200 and what 220 here, 100 here, 100 here. So I'd say close to 1,000 games probably, right? If you factor in everything. Now, and he like I hadn't been playing League for like 5 days now. So you probably watched my game like Summoner's Rift when I posted the match when I played 1-on-1 against him, like the full game, right? You probably noticed I was very, very sloppy and everything, right? But you have to think like this guy is a master tier player. He plays every single day, right? And I hadn't been playing for 5 days. This is like my fourth game now, right? I played. And he loses to me. How embarrassing is this, right? And according to, I don't know, last season I finished, I don't know, I didn't play a lot, but I mean, I finished what, like Iron something? Iron 3 was on my one account. And I think on another account, I didn't even play enough games. I played like 3 games or something. I was like bronze or something. I don't know. It was very, very embarrassing to play some games. I was just like, holy shit! Like my game, my team was just inting so hard I couldn't even carry them. I know on my normals, my MMR is like Diamond 2, but I mean, at the end of the day, this guy should beat me, right? He should beat me in theory, right? But you see, he cannot. It's the same on Aram. It's the same like on. I played against Smurfs. Like I don't know. I played against this guy who was like a master tier Riven Smurf, and he basically what happened was he was in a lobby with me. Right. He posted his Twitch link. I went into his Twitch channel because I thought we're gonna play together, and then somebody dodged, and he ended up on the opposite side against me, right? So I thought to myself, that is excellent. Why? Because now I can test how good other master players are. I was like, I don't know, gold 4 or 3 or something like that. I just came out of my promotions, right? So I was like, okay, Riven, master T player, and Riven back then was quite strong. I think it was like 2 seasons ago. I mean, this guy went 0-4 against me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like 0-4. And of course, his team slaughtered my team. Absolutely slaughtered. So I couldn't do anything. Do you know what I'm saying? So according to the systems, I got the shitters, right? And he got the good team. And he went 0-4 and he won the game. I mean, he did nothing in the game. He just went 0-4. And by the time the laning phase was over, because I took his turret, his, again, bot lane came top, right? And of course, he went bot, right? And my bot was on bot, so you know what happened. He, of course, got a double kill, right? And their top was like 7 kills already against me, right? And I was like 4 kills. And they had a good support. I think it was Thresh or something like that. I was like, holy shit. All right. But by the time their bot lane came top, the game was already over because every single lane lost. Every single lane. Right. It didn't matter. Even if I had the 12 kills, it still was a loss, right? But fundamentally, like, look what I'm saying is the rank in this game is completely irrelevant because this guy is a master tier player and he cannot even beat a bronze player who hadn't been playing for like 5 days, right? So I mean, like, what's the point of the matchmaking system if it cannot measure a person's skill? If you have a dude who is like grandmaster, and then you put him into a decent match against decent players who are bronze and they beat them, what's the point of the ranking system? What does it actually measure? It measures nothing, right? It measures absolutely fuck all, right? Because if it was accurate, if it represented something, I would be like sitting there under the turret thinking to myself, oh my god, what am I going to do, right? So I'm telling you, like, don't waste your time on this rank, right? Play for fun. If you're having fun, play it, right? Because you have to factor in there's a lot of shit in this game. Like, a lot of shit. Things like counter peeking, zonias, like teammates feeding, and like you cannot control shit like this, right? You cannot control. You cannot control you picking Tryndamere and them picking Malphite, all right? You can be a silver, low silver player, and you're still gonna do really well against Tryndamere as a Malphite. Likewise, you could be Aurelia main, right? And you are like super good at Aurelia, but they have a bronze Teemo, and new Teemo is absolutely busted, right? And there is very little you can do against Teemo as Aurelia, right? I'm talking about Teemo who is like maybe bronze 2, has correct runes, and not an idiot, right? Who is like, decent player, like me, right? If I was a Teemo main, you're not gonna beat me with Aurelia. It's just not happening. So I'm saying that like a lot of shit in this game. And if you're stuck, you are Aurelia, right? And you're playing against Teemo, and your team is feeding. That game is just lost, right? There's nothing you can do. So in terms of skill, like what exactly are we measuring here? You got counterpicked, your team is feeding, there is no way for you to do anything to impact the game. I have a video on this one. Uli, he is like a Tryndamere main. He started giving me all this nonsense about, if I played this game much better, I would have won against Malphite. Like, I posted a video where I explained that he has exactly the same problems as I have, where he gets counterpicked top lane because he picked Tryndamere, they picked Malphite, standard stuff. He does really well into counter pick, which I also do. If you pick like Teemo into Tryndamere, it's a counter pick, but I can outplay that. You pick Malphite into Tryndamere, I can also. But the problem is tanks. First of all, there is a limit to how many times you can kill them, right? There is absolute limit. Like 2-3 times, now you're entering mid game, and Malphite will simply get too tanky, right? There is absolutely no way you can kill him mid game because he's gonna have like ridiculous amounts of armor, right? At that point, if your team is feeding, you simply lose the game, and that's it. Why? Because tanks are too strong in terms of their brain dead. They're too brain dead. Tank, when you pick a tank, you effectively coin flipping, right? They cannot carry the game, but they are always useful, right? So what happened to him? He, of course, went like 4-0 or 5-0 against Malphite, and he still lost the game. Why? Because his team was brain dead, as usual, and Tryndamere against Malphite is not going to do very much mid to late game, right? Now, of course, Uli started singing me the songs about how you cannot play this shit. No, right? if there was a way to outplay this shit, I would have found it by now, right? Because like I'm very smart, very persistent guy. I'm successful at everything I do, right? And I actively think about shit and I write it down, right? If there is a way to outplay this, I would have found it by now, right? Because if you proxy, right, the problem with fucking Malphites and all those tanks, if you proxy, even if you go like 5-0 against them, if you proxy, their crowd control is, even if they're behind, they have so much crowd control that their jungler, even if they're even if they're behind, they still gonna kill you. You cannot 1v2 them ever, right? Even if you are like gazillion items ahead. The problem is crowd control is too strong. It's just too strong, right? Now, it wouldn't be a problem if they was like, for example, you can outplay Lux, right? You can outplay Lux to a certain extent because she has she has to learn her abilities, and if she doesn't, she is squishy. All right? So she has weaknesses. A fucking tank, if he misses his abilities, you're still not gonna kill him because he's a tank. He can just walk under his turret and the turret is going to kill you. He's gonna slow you, he's gonna crowd control you, and the resources required to kill him under the turret, right? Given that there is also jungler pressure, is way too much. That means you cannot proxy farm, right? So what is left, right? You cannot proxy farm, you cannot kill him, you can only take the plates. On plates alone, you will not win the game. Just period. You cannot win the game. Your alternative is you can try to go mid lane and you can roam and try to get some kills there, right? Now, we're talking about your team feeding here, right? That means their mid laner is most likely gonna be good, right? And most likely gonna have the same amount of kills as you do, right? So killing that guy is gonna be a problem. And even if you do manage to do that, the resources required to do that is probably gonna be so high that you're gonna end up losing too much farm to your top lane, right? And you have to understand when, of course, in League of Legends, if you go mid lane, even if you get a kill in there, you're still splitting experience and you're still splitting the gold. So a lot of the times, especially against good players, to get a kill on them is not resource effective. It's not cost effective to do that, right? And we're talking about, again, we're going back to the point that your team sucks and their team is good. That means their mid laner most likely will have good map awareness, most likely will ward correctly, and there's going to be jungle pressure, right? Because if mid laner typically gets ahead, probably jungle is good. Probably jungler is good, right? So what are the options, right? If you go mid, it's probably not cost effective, right? You can't proxy farm, you cannot kill the tank. All that's left is the plates and farming your jungle. You the only options is probably to farm your jungle yourself and then take the plates, right? That that while your team is feeding is not enough to carry. It's just not enough. Because I already analyzed those replays. I looked at them. There is, and you have to factor in that tanks outscale bruisers like Tryndamere. Tryndamere has to be 1.5 item ahead to be effective, right? And don't get me started on champs like Nasus, Singed, and all that shit because like they are just way too resource efficient, way too resource efficient, right? So that's what I'm saying is like, if you get counterpicked, you're absolutely doomed, right? And there is no skill impression in this in any shape or form, right? So again, you see, you could be freaking, I don't know, challenger player in reality, but if you keep getting put into lobbies where you are picking first and you always get counterpicked, you simply cannot climb, right? Why? Because you're put into situations where you cannot carry the game, right? Why? You, let's say we have 10 lobbies, and 10 lobbies you're picking first, right? And every single game you get counterpicked, right? So how are you gonna climb? You are put into a position where you simply cannot carry, right? So how does that measure your rank? How does that measure your rank? It doesn't measure anything, right? Reverse is true. Reverse is true. You have 10 lobbies, you are last pick, you have the better team, and you just counter pick the top laner, right? Let's say, I don't know, Malphite. You don't know how to play the game. Your team is just decimating the enemy team, right? And you are sitting there reading abilities and making life for the top laner, enemy top laner, miserable because you counterpick them and he can't play the game, right? So how are you skilled? Just think about it. How does that make you skilled? You're playing brain dead shit and your team is carrying you. That's it, right? But because of the randomness and because of the situation, you are the beneficiary. And the other guy who is the first pick is at a disadvantage. So how does that now according to rank, you are better than him, right? Because you simply won 10 games in a row. But realistically, did you really win any games? No, you didn't, right? You simply counterpicked and you got carried, and that's it, right? So I'm saying, like, how is that system measuring any form of skill? It doesn't measure anything, right? So I'm telling you, you see, like this guy is a master tier player and he cannot even beat a bronze player. How did we get here, right? And I'm explaining to you because the ranking system in this game is completely useless. It doesn't measure anything. There are too many random events, too many counter picks, too team dependent. It's like just even putting rank into this game is stupid. Probably it's complete coin flip, right? I think the dumbest shit that Riot ever did was put the limit on dodging. Because when you had ability to dodge, you could at least dodge if you were the first pick and you get heavy counter pick. But now you cannot even do that, right? So you are now completely, completely team dependent, right? That's why I'm saying is like it's a waste of time to play. Complete waste of time. Play one on one. In one on one, I say it's an accurate measure of skill. Why? Because it's a blind pick, right? It's a blind pick. You don't know what he's gonna pick, right? So you cannot like cheese and counter pick, right? And you have to play a champion really well, right? And you cannot do stupid shit like Malphite cannot go in a one-on-one against Tryndamere because he's just gonna lose, right? Most stupid strategies that work in solo queue do not work in one-on-one. You cannot sit under turret and be 60 CS behind and win the game in a one-on-one. That's not gonna happen, right? Because condition is turret, first blood, or 100 CS. If you're 60 CS behind, you lost the game. That's it, right? If you die, you lost the game. So you have to actually understand how to play the game. You have to understand how waves work. You have to understand when you can back. You have to understand when you can proxy farm. You have to know matchups so you know when you can harass, when you have to back off, when there are power spikes, right? But whereas in a solo queue, you can you can literally pick some like I have video on this where I was trying to get my one of my accounts to iron, right? And I'm telling you, like, the system is rigged. It's gonna push you to 50%, no matter what it is. It's either 50%, so it just pushes you to 50%, right? So if you start losing a lot of games, you're gonna get Smurfs on your team. So I was winning games when I was playing Soraka jungle. Then I picked Garen support with Smite, and I went into our jungle and I stole our jungler's farm, right? So our jungler was playing with no farm, with half of the farm because I took the other half. And then our ADC was playing with no support, and I still won the game. Like how is that balanced? How is that balanced? Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a total waste of your time. But again, going back to the topic, right? This is a master tier player, and he cannot beat a bronze player in a one-on-one scenario. So I'm telling you, like, what what does the rank system in this game measure? It measures absolutely nothing. So don't get caught up on it. All right. Take care.